Um, this particular report, I don't think the findings are extremely alarming because it's essentially something that we've always known. We've always known that that Hindumisia and anti-Hindu hate exists in the UK, and we've seen the trajectory or the rise of this trajectory post 2014. What used to be anti-India hate prior to 2014 has sort of transcended into anti-Hindu hate since 2014 because they see this as a massive threat. What is extremely alarming, though, about this report is the fact that 51% of the British Hindu parents have confirmed that their children have faced anti-Hindu hate or Hindumisia within the schools. So, just to think of the actual numbers could be much higher because a lot of the students or a lot of the children are quite fearful about coming back home and talking about, bullying or, any sort of anti-Hindu hate that they face in schools and relaying that information back to the parents. So that is the worrying sign for me, where I think the numbers are going to be much higher, and there is no resonance within the education ministry in Britain or within the schools to actually tackle this issue. I mean, we are the third largest religion, as you reported earlier, and there is little or absolutely no research done to actually highlight the experiences of the British Hindus in schools. So that's a very, very worrying sign going into that trajectory. But I don't think the schools alone are the problem. I think academia in general has been a problem. I mean, Karan has experienced this, and so has Rashmi. Both the professors who actually went against them incidentally, Mukilika Banerjee and Abhijit Sarkar, happened to be from my state, Bengal. And it's alarming that it's actually the so-called Hindu academicians or the Indian academicians in Britain who have a problem with how a person chooses to define himself as a Hindu or an Indian. And that's something which needs to be tackled back home in India rather than in the UK. This is something which has been institutionalized for years, until you hate Hinduism or you show some amount of disdain and contempt for Hindu civilization and values, you're not considered as secular or cool or liberal. And I think that's becoming quite a bit of a nefarious problem that we need to deal with.
Aditya, tell us about your experiences, since you are also in the UK. If I'm not mistaken, have you experienced this? Have you heard of others who've experienced it in schools, in colleges and otherwise?
Yes, at a very sub-middle level, there is this kind of Abrahamic othering where I don't know whether it's due to the lack of understanding of the Indic civilization value system, or whether they consciously know what Hinduism was all about, but yet because they are not they're a monolithic society which is driven by a very codified religion, whereas we are open to interpretation. And that makes them uncomfortable as to, how can a society be so open and, it needs to be codified, etc. Which is why you get slurs like you're going to go to hell because you don't worship Jesus, or, you are kafirs, etc., etc. So yes, at some level or the other, we have all experienced that, maybe in different proportions. I mean, I was called a Paki when I was in university. And some people like me who just simply just laugh it off, and we don't even take things like that seriously anymore. So we've just become very used to that kind of culture.
Pathikrit Pine, this is something that has led